You left Bombay on March 11th for Dubai.
Yes.
How did you reach Pakistan?
On 17th, we have boarded a PIA flight. It was to land at Dubai via Karachi. But we were escorted by a Pakistani agent at Karachi airport without any immigration and formality. He was escorted out of this Qaid-e-Azam airport, Karachi airport.
By Pakistani agent, you mean whom?
Asif, his name was. He was a bald fellow. He escorted us right from inside the airport to outside.
And your passports, were they stamped?
No formalities of any immigration or customs were.
March 1993, 257 people died in a series of blasts in Mumbai, then known as Bombay. They were allegedly to avenge the killing of Muslims in riots a few months earlier.
The Bank of Baroda office above the basement was blown to smithereens. The impact of the explosion was so strong that it even shattered window panes of the surrounding buildings.
जब वो दुबई चला गया तब एक स्टोरी आई इंडिया टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया फ्रंट पेज पे बॉम्बे टाइम्स में कि दाऊद इज ऑल्सो फाउंड इन ड्रग्स स्मगलिंग ऑफ ड्रग्स इन इंडिया. तो मुझे लगा ये इम्पोर्टेंट स्टोरी है और दुबई में बैठ के वो वहाँ कर रहे तो ज़रूर लिखनी चाहिए क्योंकि दुबई के शेख्स और जनरली जो इस्लामिक कंट्री है वो भी सेंसिटिव होते हैं ऐसे कुछ बातों में. सो मैंने एक बार दाऊद को फ़ोन किया. फिर मैं गई तो पहले दिन दाऊद ने कहा नहीं इंटरव्यू नहीं. मैं कहा अरे मैंने तो आपसे बॉम्बे में कहा था कि मुझे तो इंटरव्यू चाहिए ड्रग वाली इशू पे. तो मैं तो नर्वस हो गई. फिर उसने कहा नहीं हम खाना खाते हैं. तो मैंने कहा चलो खाना के बाद दे देंगे पर नहीं दिया. फिर मैं वापस मैं जहाँ रिलेटिव के साथ रह रही थी वहाँ गई. फिर दूसरे दिन वापस आई. फिर मैंने कहा नहीं आप एक काम करो मुझे इंटरव्यू दो और आप उस जमाने तो हमारे पास इतना सब गैजेट्स नहीं थे ना कि पुरावे क्या रखे एविडेंस क्या रखे कि मैं कुछ गलत नहीं कर रही हूँ. एक इंडिया में हवाला ऑपरेटर था बहुत बड़ा जो दाऊद का ऑपरेटर था वो वहाँ था. उसका नाम था अब्दुल्ला आई थिंक अब्दुल्ला. तो उसको बिठाया. मैं अच्छा अभी इसको बिठा के मुझे इंटरव्यू दे दो मैं तो इंटरव्यू लेने आई हूँ. मैं घबरा रही थी कि मेरा 3 दिन बेकार जाएगा. तो फिर उसने तो भी ना कहा. फिर बातें बहुत करी उस दिन. तो क्या हुआ कि मेरी ऐसे डायरी थी तो उसने डायरी नज़दीक ली. फिर बोला कि देखो तो उसने एक्सेप्ट किया था. मैं आपको सच कह रही हूँ ये पुरावा नहीं रहा है पर यू हैव टू बिलीव माय वर्ड्स दैट 3 मर्डर जिसमें वो आलम से जिसमें मैं विटनेस थी वो भी बताया कैसे हुआ. तो उसने कहा कि और ये मैंने बहुत ही तब सीखा एक ऑब्जर्वेशन समझ आया लाइफ का कि अगर मैं उसे नहीं मारता तो वो मुझे मार देता. बोलो शीला जी आपको क्या लगता है मुझे नहीं मारना चाहिए ऐसे?
अच्छे वक्तों में तलवार बुरे वक्तों में बंदूक और हाल में क्लाशनिकोव है. पता ही चला कि वहाँ
Dawood Ibrahim was born on the 26th of December 1955 to a Konkani family in Khed in Maharashtra, India. Konkani Muslims, or Kokani Muslims, are an ethno-religious subgroup of the Konkani people of the Konkani region along the west coast of India, who practice Islam. Nawayith and Nakhuda, Muslims from the North Kannada district of Karnataka have similar origin as Konkani Muslims, but show a distinct ethno-linguistic identity due to geographical isolation of the Kannada coast from the Konkan coast. His father, Ibrahim Kaskar, worked as a head constable with the Mumbai police. His father was always working, and whenever he got home, he was always strict with young Dawood. Dawood's mother, Amina Bai, was a homemaker. She used to spoil him time to time. He loved her dearly, and probably loved her more than his dad. Dawood had 6 brothers and 5 sisters. Dawood lived in the area of Dongri, Mumbai, and attended Ahmed Sailor High School. Dawood actually liked that school. There he used to socialize with other children, and probably was already the boss of his little children gang in that school. But he later dropped out, as his father didn't have enough money to keep sending him to that school. In school Dawood was actually a very smart kid. Dawood was probably already a businessman in school. As Dawood grew to his teen years, he started getting closer to one of his brothers in particular, who is very important in his story. Shabir Ibrahim Kaskar was the big brother of Dawood Ibrahim. Dawood started committing fraud, theft and robbery while still in his teens. At 13 years old, Dawood robbed his first shop, and at 14 years old created his Lil Teen Gang. The gang was created to protect themselves against other teens, as in the street there was a lot of bullies, and they were not carrying guns as of yet. So in his teens, Dawood, his brothers and other street kids, united and created the gang. The gang was mainly controlled by Dawood Ibrahim, but his brothers and the other kids could have a say. At 16 years old, Dawood saw one of his brothers getting jumped by a group of teens. As he saw that, he quickly jumped into action and ran towards his brother to help him. That day, he got jumped along with his brother. That day Dawood showed traits that would help him in the future: courage and loyalty. As Dawood grew to his teens, he always used to argue with his father, as at that age, every teens are starting to discover themselves, and at around 16 to 17 years old, around that age he started really understanding the world, and developing his mindset and ideologies about this world. How Dawood Ibrahim found his mentor, Khalid Khan Bacha. One day a guy named Rashid Taxi was running for his life, pushing and shoving the passers-by, colliding with bicycle riders and oncoming scooters. He was trying to get away from Khalid, who was looming large over him like an angel of death. But Rashid was scrawny and lean, he could run faster. Khalid was heavier and had to strain harder to continue running behind Rashid. Rashid Khan was popularly known as Rashid Taxi as he owned a fleet of black and yellow taxis. Rashid Taxi had a history with Bashu. He had initially started off as a Bashu acolyte but left bitterly after being mistreated. Khalid, being Bashu's enforcer, called Rashid a couple of times through an emissary, but Rashid not only shrugged them off but also slapped and abused the messengers every time he was summoned. He told them, "I don't have to submit to Bashu and his commands." For Khalid, it was a direct challenge. He finally decided to discipline Rashid in his own way. He alerted his men and posted a couple of boys at the end of Teli Mohala. If they spotted Rashid passing by that route, they were to alert him immediately. That evening in the summer of 1973, Khalid's boys told him about Rashid's presence in the area. Khalid swung into action immediately. Two of those boys who were earlier beaten by Rashid also joined the chase. They knew that Khalid not only wanted to shatter Rashid's pride but also his bones. They were also itching to avenge their own humiliation at Rashid's hands. After chasing Rashid for half a kilometer, Khalid, a heavy-set man, had begun to pant, beads of sweat dotting his forehead. It was too much work for one day. Khalid was thoroughly frustrated at such a potential loss of face and decided to give up. Both his men who were running behind him were also out of breath. They stopped the moment they saw Khalid slowing down. They decided to return and were resigned to their fate. Suddenly, like a bolt from the blue, a youth whizzed past them, almost flying with extreme agility, jumping across the handcarts, hopping away in front of the honking car bonnets, intercepting motorbikes and scooters. Khalid turned to look in wonderment, surprised at the sudden surge of energy that one of his boys seemed to have acquired in no time. But as he turned around, he saw both his men were still behind him, the epitome of deflated tires, thoroughly punctured. They too looked at him incomprehensibly and shrugged, acknowledging that they too didn't know who this man was, sprinting ahead of them like a rabbit. The youth was holding Rashid Taxi by his collar and was not allowing him to move an inch from the spot. "Khalid Bhai aa jao." "Come here, Khalid Bhai," said the boy. While Khalid was overjoyed that Rashid had finally been cornered, he looked quizzically at the boy who held Rashid in his firm grip. One of his aides announced, "Ye to Dawood High." "Oh, this is Dawood." Khalid was trying hard to size up this scrawny lad who had been introduced to him by Ibrahim Havildar just recently, and who was now holding Rashid like a sack of potatoes, with so little effort. Khalid patted Dawood's back, indicating that he was very pleased with his actions. The boy had no idea that Rashid was a prize catch for Khalid, and by netting him he had rescued him from a tight spot. Then Khalid turned swiftly and administered a resounding heavy slap in full force on Rashid's face. In the few years that he had been with the Mumbai Mafia, he had learnt the golden rules too well. If you want to kill someone, then you stab him in the stomach. But if you want him to live but still want to subject him to abject and disgraceful humiliation, then you stab him in his buttocks. This is called Gand Pe War. Attack on the ass. The injury inflicted in full public view would be a perennial source of embarrassment for the victim, and he would never be able to sit straight even after recovery. Eventually, among Bombay denizens, this form of retribution got whittled down to Gand Pe Lot, kick on the ass, and, now, GPL is a widely used acronym. Khalid took a knife from his aide and drove the knife down both of Rashid's butt cheeks, leaving 2 deep gashes. Rashid let out a piercing scream. Khalid and his men were satisfied with the punishment and were ready to leave. It was then that one of his men asked, "Bhai, agar police case wato? Bhai, what if the police registers a case against us?" Dawood, who was until now merely standing by without participating in the violence, stepped forward and said, "If there is a cross-complaint of a similar case, then the police will resolve it within the station premises and the matter will not go to court, thereby ruling out any prosecution or trial." Dawood had simplified their dilemma and spoken like a true policeman's son. Khalid's brow creased in worry. How can we lodge a cross-complaint against Rashid when we don't have a victim whom he has hurt? Khalid inquired from Dawood and also looked towards his 2 men. Even before Khalid's aides could respond, Dawood acted with the same swiftness that he had displayed earlier while chasing Rashid. He took the knife from Khalid and inflicted a deep gash on his own forearm. Fresh hot blood gushed out from his wound and splattered on his clothes, and also began dribbling on the tar road. Dawood's clothes were soaked with his own blood. Everything happened so suddenly and abruptly that Khalid was left stunned. It was at that precise moment that he vowed to himself that he would stand by the young man and protect him always, even if he had to give up his own life to save him. Khalid immediately gave Dawood a warm, crushing embrace. It was the beginning of a long-lasting bond.